Kira Venter, I finally ask you again, $50,000, can you get the account within today? Molly's voice on the other end of the phone was sharp, as if it were going through the receiver. In the background, besides Dale's impatient cough, Ricky mixed with the sound of bottle collision curses. Ricky is stuck in the alley by those people. If they don't take the money, they will take off his arm. My hand holding the phone tightened sharply, my knuckles turned white, and a few drops of freshly soaked hot cocoa spilled on the documents on my desk, dizzy, with a small dark mark. Molly, I've told you 100 times, there's no money. My voice trembled uncontrollably, not fear, but anger to the extreme. That's the down payment I have saved for 3 years with my teeth clenched. It's my only hope to escape from you, not Ricky's chips on the gambling table. Escape from us? You white-eyed wolf. Molly's volume rose 8 degrees in an instant, and the sharp voice made my eardrum ache. What room does a girl buy? Sooner or later you have to get married, and keeping that money is a waste. Ricky is the only root of the Wynn family. If something happens to him, our old couple will not live. Do you have the heart to watch U.S. white-haired people send black-haired people and watch your brother become disabled? With a sneer, my eyes fell on the yellowed photo in the corner of the table. I was 15 years old in my whitewashed school uniform, holding the first salary I earned from my part-time job, while Ricky stood beside me with the latest video game in his hand, which was a birthday present my parents bought for him on my salary. Enough. I repeated the word, and my tone was full of sarcasm. I went to the restaurant to wash dishes when I was 14, and my hands were wrinkled. I dropped out of school at the age of 16 and entered the factory. I stood on the assembly line for more than 10 hours a day, and I was too tired to straighten. Waste. You didn't leave me a cent of my salary, you filled Ricky's hole. Did he get into less trouble? The last time I hit someone while drunk, I paid for it with the money I had saved for half a year. The year before last, he lost 30,000 yuan in gambling. I borrowed a credit card to pay him back. Now he owes another 50,000. You will only force me. Molly Dale, I'm not your cash cow, and I'm not Ricky's babysitter. Why should I pay for his mess? What an attitude you have. Dale finally took the phone, his voice dull but with an unquestionable sense of oppression. We raise you so big. Let you help brother, what's the matter? The wings are hard, right? I tell you, Kira, you must give the money today, or we will go to your company to find you and show you what your colleagues will think of you as an unfilial woman. Threat again. I bit my lower lip until I tasted a trace of blood. You dare to try. I said word by word. I am not the child you used to let you handle. You. Dale was so angry that he couldn't speak. Molly's cry came from the other end of the phone. Kira, you baiwenhang. We never should have had you. You wait, we will never let you go. I hung up directly, and threw my phone on the table, my chest heaving violently. Zena, a colleague in the office, looked up at me with concern in her eyes. All right? She asked in a low voice, still holding the unfinished customer information in her hand. Nothing. I smiled reluctantly and picked up a paper towel to wipe off the cocoa stains on the table. A little thing at home. Zena didn't ask any more questions, just handed over a mint. I took the peel and stuffed it into my mouth, and the cool taste calmed my mood slightly. I know what my parents said is not empty talk. They really can do it to go to the company to make such a thing. The last time I refused to buy Ricky the latest computer, they ran downstairs to the apartment I used to rent and yelled at the corridor, calling me unfilial and ungrateful, and letting the neighbors point fingers at me. That night, I lay in bed tossing and turning, can't sleep. The moonlight shone through the gaps in the curtains and cast a slender shadow on the floor, much like the hand that my parents stretched out to drag me back into the abyss. I opened the mobile phone bank and looked at the hard-won numbers in it. It was the money I saved after working late into the night, eating countless instant noodles and rejecting all social activities. I want to have a home of my own, a quiet home without them. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was a strange number. I hesitated for a moment and picked it up. Ricky immediately came in with a voice of alcohol, full of disdain and threats. Elder sister, don't be shameless. Mom and Dad raised you. Take some money to save your brother. What's the matter? You think you can just hide? I have long found out where your company is. If you don't hit 50,000 yuan on my card, I will not only go to your company to make trouble and post your glorious deeds all over the office building, but also send them to all your colleagues and superiors so that you can't get along in the city. What glorious deeds have I done? I asked rhetorically. The heart was like being held by a cold hand, and the chill climbed up the spine. When you were in high school, you were fooling around with that wild boy in the woods behind the school. Ricky deliberately lengthened his tone, and the malice in his tone almost overflowed. I still have the hairpin you dropped at that time. If I write these stories again and send them out with a few ambiguous photos, what do you think of you? Do customers still dare to cooperate with you? Your poor down payment will not even have enough money to change your city life. I was trembling with anger, and my teeth clenched. It was an ignorant affection when I was in high school. I just talked to a boy for a few words, but it was always regarded as a threat to me after being caught by Ricky. Ricky, you're disgusting. I gritted my teeth and said word for word, disgusting? It's better than breaking your leg if you don't have the money to pay your debt. Ricky hissed, tone more arrogant. Give you 3 days, $50,000, not less. Otherwise, you will be ruined and spurned by everyone. I tell you, Kira, you will never get rid of us in your life. Hung up the phone. I can no longer help, lying on the pillow and crying. Why was I born into such a family? Why do they never see my efforts and only squeeze me? After crying for about half an hour, I dried my tears and my eyes became firm. I can't go on like this. I want to run away from them completely. As soon as I went to work the next day, I started looking for a house online. I deliberately chose a community far away from the company, where the environment is quiet and far from where I used to live. Mom and Dad and Ricky should not be easy to find. I dare not find an intermediary, for fear that they will leak my information. I can only find it on some private rental forums. Everything comes to him who waits. In the afternoon, I saw a suitable house, a small apartment on the first floor with a small balcony. The landlord was an old couple and looked very kind. I immediately contacted the landlord and agreed to visit the house at night. After work, I went around several circles to confirm that no one followed me before taking a taxi to the community. The apartment is very small, but very clean. The sun can shine through the window, let a person feel very warm. The landlady took my hand and asked me if I lived alone. I nodded. She said, "A girl should pay attention to safety when she lives. The neighbors here are very good. Can I help you?" I paid the rent and deposit for 3 months on the spot and signed a contract with the landlord. When I walked out of the apartment, I looked at the stars in the sky and felt for the first time that there was hope for the future. Over the next few days, I started secretly packing. I dare not pack during the day for fear of being seen by neighbors and telling my parents that I can only wait until late at night. I packed all the important things into a big backpack, such as my deposit certificate, ID card, academic certificate, and some small commemorative objects. I packed all the other things into cartons and found a moving company I didn't know. I agreed to move at 5 a.m. On the day of the move, the whole city was quiet before dawn. The master of the moving company was very professional and quickly carried my things onto the truck. I sat in the passenger seat and looked out of the window at the familiar streets, retreating a little bit. I had no nostalgia in my heart, only relief. When I arrived at the new apartment, I spent the whole day sorting things out. Hang clothes in the closet, put books on the shelf, and put kitchen utensils in the kitchen. When I threw the yellowed photo into the trash can, I took a deep breath and felt that the stone that had been pressed in my heart for many years finally fell to the ground. I changed my cell phone number and only told Zena and my boss Everett. I told them that if a stranger asked me about my contact information or address, never tell them. Zena patted me on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I know what to do. If they really go to the company to make trouble, we will help you." Everett also said that it will protect the privacy and safety of employees. In the first few days, I lived carefully every day. Go around the road to and from work and check the doors and windows repeatedly before going to bed at night. There was no news from my family on my cell phone. I thought they would give up if they couldn't find me. But I'm still naive. One afternoon a week later, I was sorting out documents in my office when Megan at the front desk suddenly called in a nervous tone. Kira, there are 3 people looking for you downstairs, 1 man and 2 women, saying they are your family. They are very emotional and have been shouting. I can't stop them. My heart sank to the bottom. They still found me. Megan, you try to stabilize them. I'll be right down. I hung up the phone, took a deep breath, tidied up my clothes, and walked quickly to the elevator. Zena saw me and stood up. I'll go with you. The moment the elevator door opened, the harsh cries and angry scolding filled my ears instantly. The hall was full of colleagues from the company. Megan at the front desk was pushed aside by Dale, her eyes red, and the papers on the table were scattered all over the floor. Molly sat on the ground, clapping her hands on the floor, crying heartbreakingly. How can my life be so bitter? Raised a baiwenhang daughter, earned money will not recognize parents. Our old couple are starving to death, but she took the money to buy a house, regardless of whether we live or die. Dale stood beside her, his face livid, and shouted to the onlookers. Everyone comment. This Kira Venter ungrateful. Even if he doesn't have his parents, he doesn't even care if his brother is going to be broken. Such cold-blooded people don't deserve to work here. Ricky leaned against the wall, put his hands in his pockets, smiled gloatingly while recording, and said to the camera, Look, this is my selfish and good sister. In order to buy a house for herself, I watched my brother die. Have you had enough trouble here? I walked quickly over, my voice as cold as frost. When Molly saw me, she immediately got up from the ground and rushed like crazy to grab my hair and tear my clothes. Zena was quick-eyed and stopped her, and several female colleagues behind her immediately gathered in front of me. Kira, you baiwenhang, where have you been hiding? We've been looking for you for days. Molly struggled and cursed at me, spitting all over the floor. You must take out the money today, or we will die in front of your company. Let you have no peace in your life. Where am I? What does it matter to you? I said coldly, I didn't already tell you. I don't have the money to pay Ricky's gambling debts. Not only did you run downstairs to my former apartment to make trouble, but now you also come to the company to run wild, pushing my colleagues and destroying the company's property. What do you really want? Harassing you? We're your parents. It is only natural to find you. Dale came over and reached out to pull my arm and was stopped by Jack, a male colleague next to him. Pointing at my nose, he spat and said, You were born to us, and your money is our money. Ricky is the root of the Wynn family. You must save him. Today you have to give this money, or not. Otherwise, we will be making trouble here all the time, making your company unable to open, make you ashamed to see people. Well, then I'll let everyone listen to what kind of daughter I am. I took out my cell phone from my pocket and turned on the recording function. Do you remember when I was 14 years old, I went to the restaurant to wash dishes? I worked late into the night, every day. My hands were swollen, and you didn't give me a cent of the salary you earned. You bought Ricky a game console. I dropped out of school at the age of 16 and went to work in a factory. I worked on the assembly line for more than 10 hours a day. I was too tired to stand up, but you took my salary and took Ricky to travel and eat a big meal. Ricky hit someone with a drunk driver, which I paid for with the money I had saved for half a year. He lost 30,000 yuan in gambling, and I lent him a credit card to repay it. I saved up a down payment for 3 years and wanted to have a home of my own, but you forced me to pay off Ricky's gambling debts. You not only threatened me, but also made trouble downstairs in my former apartment, and now you are running to my company to make a scene. Who is unreasonable? Who is harassing whom? As I said this, I turned the volume of my cell phone to the maximum. In the recording, Molly and Ricky threatened me before clearly. If you don't take the money out, we won't survive if Ricky has an accident. I'll go to your company and make you ashamed to go to work. If people in your company knew about your high school, what would they think? The hall was silent, and everyone looked at Mom and Dad and Ricky with shocked eyes. Molly's face turned pale, and she couldn't say a word. Dale's face was also very ugly. He opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. Ricky, on the other hand, was a little flustered. He avoided everyone's eyes and did not dare to look at me. And these I opened the mobile phone bank and showed the transfer record to everyone. This is the 20,000 yuan I paid Ricky for drunk driving. This is the 10,005 I paid him back his credit card. This is the money I transferred to my family in the past 10 years, totaling 230,000 yuan. I have been frugal over the years, just want to have a home of my own, don't have to be squeezed by you. But what about you guys? You only know how to ask for it blindly and have never considered my feelings. Zena immediately stood up and said loudly to the onlookers and parents, I can testify. Kira works late into the night every day, eats a sandwich for lunch, and often has instant noodles for dinner, just to save money to buy a house. She told me before that she had been working since she was 14 years old, and her salary was all taken by her family to fill her brother's hole. She couldn't even bear to buy a new dress herself. She is not unfilial, but her family does not regard her as a relative at all. I can testify too. Colleague Lily also stood up, holding a mobile phone in her hand. Last time Kira borrowed a credit card and 5,000 yuan from me because she paid her brother's gambling debts. She said she would pay me back when she was paid. She never complained, just a person in silence. Moreover, she is especially responsible for her work. Last time, she stayed up for 2 nights in a row to help customers solve problems. Such people, how can they be the kind of baiwenhang they say? And me. I've seen Kira frugal as well. More and more colleagues came forward to testify for me, and everyone was angry with Mom and Dad and Ricky's behavior. Jack stood directly in front of me and said to Dale, this is the company, not the place where you run wild. You push the front desk and destroy the company's property, which is suspected of breaking the law. Everett also came over and looked at his parents and Ricky with a serious face. I am the boss here, and I can tell you clearly that Kira is an excellent employee of our company. Your actions have seriously affected the normal order of the company and violated Kira's right to privacy and reputation. I now order you to leave here immediately and stop harassing Kira. Otherwise, we will immediately call the police and pursue your legal responsibility. Ricky also wanted to take the mobile phone video, but his colleague Tom grabbed the mobile phone and deleted the video. We can also sue you for your malicious video defamation. Mom and Dad and Ricky looked at each other. They didn't expect so many colleagues to come forward to help me, their faces blue and white. Molly still wanted to make a scene, but was held back by Dale. He knew that if the trouble continued, he would really be taken away by the police. Ricky tried to grab the phone back, but Tom glared at him and was too scared to move. Dale gave me a hard look, swearing, dragging Molly, pulling Ricky, and being despondently sent out of the company door by his colleagues. When she reached the door, Molly turned back and shouted, Kira, you wait for us. After they left, Everett patted me on the shoulder and said, Kira, don't worry, we're here and we'll protect you. My colleagues also came around and comforted me. Thank you. I was moved to tears, and for the first time in years, I felt warmth and support. That night, I returned to the new apartment, sitting on the balcony, looking at the stars in the sky. My heart is very calm. While Mom and Dad and Ricky may not be ready to give up yet, I'm not afraid anymore. I know, I have a new family. They are my colleagues and friends. A few days later, I received a phone call from a lawyer. Everett helped me find it. The lawyer said that he had sent letters to his parents and Ricky, warning them not to harass me again, or they would sue them. Since then, my parents and Ricky have never contacted me or gone to the company again. A few months later, I officially moved into my own house. It was a 2-bedroom apartment with a big balcony. I planted a lot of flowers on the balcony. Every morning, I will be awakened by the sun and the fragrance of flowers. In the evening, I will sit on the balcony reading, drinking tea, and enjoying my own quiet time. Sometimes I also think of the past days, think of my parents and Ricky to squeeze and hurt me. But that's all in the past, and I'm no longer the little girl who let them handle it. I learned to refuse, to protect myself, and to break the shackles of filial piety, defined by others. True filial piety is never a bottomless effort and sacrifice, but is based on mutual respect. If a family relationship is only squeezed and hurt, then stop. Loss and time is the best responsibility for yourself. I know that there is still a long way to go and many difficulties and setbacks may be encountered. But I have the courage to face it because I finally broke free from the shackles of the original family and found my own freedom and happiness. More importantly, I understand a truth. A person's strongest confidence never comes from the giving of others, but from the firmness and self-recognition of the heart. That day, Zena and several colleagues came to my house and looked at the colorful flowers on my balcony. Zena smiled and said, "Kira, you look so good now that you have light in your eyes." I smiled and handed each of them a cup of scented tea. Yes, because I finally broke free and lived as I wanted. It turns out that living for yourself is really so happy. The sun shines through the window and shines on us, warm and bright. I know that this is not only the life I want, but also the life I win for myself by my courage and persistence. And those who have hurt me can no longer take away my light.